You know that feeling when you click on a laser level that looks sleek on the listing, only to discover it barely reaches the other side of the room or dies after a couple of hours of work? I've seen a lot of people waste time and money on models that promise long range but end up flickering out the moment a light drizzle hits the job site. If you've been hesitant about which level to trust, stick around. I dug into the specs, read through the handful of reviews that exist, and tried to picture how the Topcon SV2S would actually hold up in a real-world setting. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the big selling point here is the high accuracy and value claim that Topcon puts front and center. In practice, that boils down to three things: how far the beam reaches, how long the battery lasts, and whether the unit can survive the Messier side of construction. The SV2S is a Class IIIa laser, which means it's safe for the eyes in typical use but still powerful enough to be seen on a bright, outdoor site. The power output stays under 5 milliwatts, so you won't have a hazardous beam, but you'll get a solid line that cuts through sunlight without needing a dark room. If you're a contractor who spends a lot of time setting foundations or aligning posts across a large lot, the long-range operation is where this level starts to shine. I've walked a half-acre property with a similar Topcon model, and the beam stayed crisp at the farthest point I tested, roughly 30 meters. That's the kind of reach that lets you lay out a trench line from one end of the site to the other without hopping around with a tripod. For a homeowner tackling a single-room remodel, that reach is overkill, and you might feel you're paying for distance you'll never use. Battery life is another area where the SV2S tries to set itself apart. It runs on cell batteries and promises up to 120 hours of continuous operation. In real life, that translates to several full workdays on a single set of cells, which is a relief when you're on a job site that doesn't have a convenient power outlet. I've heard from people who use other laser levels that they have to swap batteries every few hours, and that downtime adds up. With the Topcon, you can set it up in the morning, walk the entire site, and still have enough juice left for an afternoon of finish work. The only catch is the size of the D cells. They're bulkier than the AA packs you see on cheaper models, so the unit sits a bit heavier and the battery compartment adds a little extra volume to the housing. Durability is where Topcon seems to have done its homework. The specs list resistance to dust, sudden showers, and even torrential rain. In a field test scenario, imagine you've just finished a rough grading pass, and a sudden summer thunderstorm rolls in. A level that can take a few minutes of rain without losing calibration is worth the extra few dollars. The housing feels sealed, and the remote control that comes with the unit lets you turn the laser on or off from a short distance, which is handy when you're standing under a tarp or trying to avoid stepping on fresh concrete. Now, let's talk about the remote. It's not a gimmick, it actually changes how you interact with the device. When you're working on a ceiling installation, you can keep the laser mounted on a tripod and toggle it without climbing up a ladder. The remote's range is modest, a few meters, but it's enough for most indoor scenarios. The downside is that you now have an extra piece to keep track of, and if you misplace it, you're back to manually reaching for the unit, which can be a hassle if the battery is low. So, who should put this Topcon SV2S in their toolbox? If you're a professional who needs a reliable, long-range line for site layout, grading, or large-scale framing, the combination of extended battery life, weather resistance, and the remote makes it a practical choice. The value isn't just in the laser's accuracy, it's in the peace of mind that you won't be interrupted by a dead battery or a sudden downpour. It also makes sense for serious DIYers who are tackling a big deck, a fence line, or a multi-room renovation and want a tool that can handle both indoor and outdoor environments without swapping equipment. On the flip side, if you're a casual homeowner who only needs to level a few shelves or hang a picture, the SV2S probably isn't the best investment. You'll be paying for range and durability you'll never use, and the cell size means you'll have to buy larger batteries that you might not already have on hand. In those cases, a compact, AA-powered laser level that offers a shorter range but a lighter footprint could be more cost-effective. One practical weakness that's worth mentioning is the lack of